Good morning, good morning. It's Marriage Reset Tuesday. How are you? It's so good to be back with you today. So how valuable would it be if we talked about a way to have a conversation around a topic that's highly charged and have that conversation in a very productive way? I don't mean necessarily a calm way with modulated tone of voice, but a productive way, an adult way. So would that be valuable? Are you having a hard time talking about highly charged topics? It's a very common occurrence. We get so energized and excited, and we really want what we want. We get invested. That's the word I was on search for. We get invested in what we want and what we think is important, what we don't want, what we like, what we prefer, what scares us. We don't want you to do something if it scares us. So we get really invested, and we hold on as if the answer has to be that answer or the world will come to an end. So I want to talk today about how to have a conversation. And the reason is that I got an email that was very moving over the weekend, and it was from one of you who had watched the Facebook Live on risk tolerance, and that was the April 28th, 2020 Facebook Live on risk tolerance. And she and her husband are trying to figure out, they live in a state in the US that is very open for business. And they notice that they're having a little bit of push-pull when it comes to making decisions about where to go or if to go. How to go to certain places. And so every time they sit down to talk about it, one or both of them flies off the handle. That's how she spoke about it, flies off the handle. So I'm imagining that it's highly charged, lots of emotion, and that everybody really is, each of them are fixed in their own position. They really want what they want. So here's how to have a conversation, and I call it couple talk, and it's when couples really talk to each other. And when you talk, you speak to each other for the purpose of being known. And that's a very important part of this. There's lots of different kinds of conversation structures and formats. This couple talk structure and format is for the purpose of being known. It's not for problem solving. It's not for resolving issues. It's not for deciding. It's not for giving information, listening for feelings. Although we do create an empathic connection. I want to talk about listening next week, because there's a big difference between how we listen for feelings and how we are listening to our partners in a couple talk. Because you're listening to the whole person. You're providing the space for each partner to step in. So imagine that there's this space from me to you, right? It's this circular space between us. And in that space is relational space. That's very sacred relational space. So when we come to a conversation, a couple talk conversation, we both need to step into this conversational, sacred relational space. And when we step into that space, we step into that space in our adult, really curious and ready to listen and be open-hearted, undefended against our partner, really for the purpose of being known. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you sensing? What are you afraid of? What's the worst case? What's the best case? You know, what is your heart saying? What are you worried about? What are some other questions that you want to ask yourself or your partner in couple talk? So make sure that you're in your adult, that you have a very open, undefended heart, that you are massively curious. And you'll hear me say that a lot, massively curious. Curiosity really is the underpinning of so many of the essential relationship success skills. The other thing is that you have agreed that it's a good time. You both carved out time so that nobody is preoccupied. You don't have anything important on the other end so that you have to shorten it or rush through it. And you make sure that you're comfortable in a space that has good light, and you're both very comfortable I suggest sitting in 2 separate chairs. On a couch can be cozy, but then you're lateral to each other and it's hard to talk. Somebody's turning your head, or if you're sitting in a chair face to face, then your body is squared off and you've got really good eye contact and you can see your face and your body language. And you can really hold the space for the whole person, everything the person is saying and not saying, how they look when they're saying it. I would suggest the first time, a couple of times actually, that you have a couples conversation, that you have can use your phone. I always like egg timers, but you can make a note that it's for 3 minutes or 4 minutes. So make the conversation very short. Not that you're gonna feel rushed, but this kind of a conversation, people are very vulnerable, and you want to tap into your vulnerability very respectfully and not ask a lot of yourself while you're building that muscle, okay? So step into your couple talk conversation. One person talks, no questions. You can nod your head, right? You can lean in a little bit. You can lower your eyes so that people understand that you're listening. But don't talk. Don't even utter a yeah, I see. Just nod or it's really about eye contact. When you are making eye contact with somebody who's talking, they may divert their eyes, but you're holding the space to be in connection and connection with them through your eyes. It's a lovely, lovely process, but it's very vulnerable. It's hard for some people. So make sure that you do this only for a short time, the first couple of times. Don't look for a resolution, no problem solving, no solutions. It's not a solution-based or solution-focused conversation. It really is so that the person can get everything out. The partner can get everything out that has been pent up, that they've been thinking about, worried about, didn't take the time to think about how to language, what words to bring to what they were feeling so they could really communicate it to you and you could listen, you could hear, you could understand. Okay, that's our couples talk. And you say, well, what about the problem solving? That happens at a different time. End your couple talk by a squeeze of the hand, or perhaps you stand up in that couple space and hug a minute. And then have another conversation. You might have to have couple conversations, of course, so that each person has an opportunity to be known, to be heard fully. And then you want to sit down and with all the information you have, everything that you've heard and that you've sensed and that you've seen, you sit down together for a problem-solving conversation. And actually, I should make myself a note, that's a whole other kind of conversation. And I like 3 different structures, 3 specific formats to have a problem-solving conversation. So we'll talk about those next week. Thursday, we'll talk about listening. Next week, we'll talk about the 3 problem-solving conversations. So let me know in the chat how this has landed. What was your biggest takeaway? What do you think that you can use? What are you excited about? What do you think might stretch you a little bit in having these kinds of conversations? If you're listening to the replay, thank you very much. And let me know what's stretching you or what you thought was particularly helpful that you're going to try. So that is it for me for today. Stay well, stay brave, stay very mindful and intentional. And I'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.